body while continuing to live. Videha Mukti maintains that realization, complete total realization, can come only at death. Krsna is upholding Jivan Mukti because in fact it is a much more optimistic way of looking at it. Why should you look for a post-mortem happiness? You must see what inspires us is what is available here and now. So throughout the Gita he keeps saying, ihaiva means here you can, here and now is what you can get. So when he says dehi, it means while you are living, you get it. Then in verse 14, he goes on to describe the other two, he uses the other two terms which we'll come to as we go along. Verse 14. Kartrutvam na karmani lokasya srujati prabhuhu na karma phala sanyogam svabhavastu pravartate. The Lord does not cause either doership or actions for the world, nor union with the fruit of action. Then what is happening? Nature prompts it. So, in this verse, he uses the word Prabhu. The difference between Dehi, the term he uses in 13, Prabhu, the term he uses in this verse, and Vibhu, the term he uses in 15, is that the very fact that he uses the term Dehi means in verse 13, the accent is on the possibility of realizing while you are still occupying this body. So what he's trying to get across to us is that you are living in the body, but you are not the body. How many of us carry this conviction? We live in the body, yes, but we believe that we are the body. And that's the tragedy. Thereafter, whatever happens to the body happens to us. It's as absurd as you're sitting in your car and driving and another vehicle comes and just touches you. There's a dent in the car. When the collision takes place, do you say, ouch? There are some specimens who say that also because they're attached to the car. The car gets a dent, you don't. So what it means is you are in the car, but you are not the car. Similarly, you live, you're a temporary resident in this body, not even a permanent resident. Temporarily you're occupying this body. Temporarily you are in a certain environment. Unnecessarily, why do you go around getting it so attached to it that whatever happens to the body happens to you? Rise above it. You see, even temporarily, if you switch your attention from the body, forget Atman, from the body to the mind, at least temporarily you're free from the affectation of the body. Here is a person who, while he is transacting with the world through the body, through the mind, through the intellect, his attention is entirely, totally fixed on Atman. Then nothing that happens with reference to the body, mind and intellect affects him. This is what he's saying in verse 13. In 14, he shifts the attention from the body and he's talking about Prabhu, Lord means Atman. He's speaking, the term Atman is used with reference to the individual. So while you are living, in the description itself, he's moved on from the body to Atman in the microcosm. So the reference point is still the individual, but he's talking about the spirit, Atman. In 15, he breaks free from that. You don't need to be the reference point when you're discussing Brahman, this mighty infinite power that pervades the whole universe and exists beyond it as well. So this transition. Anyway, in 14 what he's saying is, na kartrutvam. Such a person does not have this doership, kartrutva bhavana. This is the problem with all of us. We have this strong sense of kartrutva. I am the doer. Without me, what will happen to everybody? The head of a family thinks, I am the person who holds the family together. Without me, what will happen to the family? What will happen? If the person is not around, you know what will happen? The family will carry on much better than with him. It is only in his delusion that he thinks he is the doer. The head of an organization, the chairman of an organization thinks, without me the company will fall apart. It's the other way around. It's because of him that the company is falling apart. Anybody who has this sense of kartrutva cannot come out with perfect actions, cannot come out with excellence, because he's too full of garbage. His kartrutva bhavana is garbage. Na kartrutvam, na karmani. Nor does he think that he is performing any actions. The sense of doership is not there, nor even while he is performing actions, he doesn't think he is doing anything. Why? Nature prompts it. What is the source of the action? Atman is that which enlivens actions. But what determines the nature of the action? Vasanas. Therefore, he understands that while actions are going on, I am not doing anything. It's vasanas that are manifesting. That's it. And when he takes that stand, this is a very useful tip to us. When you see your own actions, when you see the actions of others, when you see the behavior and conduct of others, don't get affected by it. How not to get affected? Understand it is just vasana that is manifesting. A person with crude vasanas has no choice, poor chap, except to manifest it crudely. What else will he do? A person with refined vasanas, you see such a few people there are in the world, extremely refined individuals. You see the behavior, their conduct, the way they conduct themselves is a marvel. You can only sit there and marvel at it. Why? Because he has refined vasanas. A person who's vicious is vicious because he has vicious vasanas. So you learn the art of separating the person from the conduct, separating the person from the vasanas, and then you don't have a problem. But the rest of us have a problem. If you don't have this capacity to segregate it, you have a problem because you mistake the person for his vasanas. It's as absurd as saying, I don't like your clothes, therefore I don't like you. You have nothing to do with the clothes. Na karma phala sanyogam, nor is there union with the fruit of action. Just as we've seen the example of electricity. Electricity has no kartrutva, electricity has no desire to manifest in a particular way. Wherever you tap into that electrical source, whatever gadget you use, that is the way the electricity will function. So it has no kartrutva, nor does it act. The electricity neither heats, nor refrigerates, nor what else? Moves. Electricity is what it is. Na karma phala sanyogam, nor does it have anything with the fruit of action. If that electrical contact is not proper, what happens? That particular electrical gadget will work sometimes, switch off, work, switch off, and you get irritated with it. But electricity has nothing to do with it. It has no union with the fruit of action. The result of that action may be perfect, the result of that action may be terrible. Electricity has nothing to do with the fruit of action. Then what is happening? Nature manifests itself. So, throughout the Gita, he keeps talking about the importance of understanding the difference between nature, prakriti, which means vasanas, and Atman, the prime mover of all actions. To the extent this difference is clear in your mind, you don't get affected by the manifestation. If this is not clear to you, then of course you'll get affected. Verse 15. Nadatte kasyachit papam na chaiva sukrutam vibhuhu ajñāne nāvrutam jnānam tena muhyanti jantavaha. Now in this verse he moves to using the word Vibhu. So what does he say? The Vibhu, the Lord, does not receive anyone's sin or even good deed. Not papam, sin, not sukritam, virtue, a good deed. Then what is happening? Knowledge is covered by ignorance. This deludes beings. So in this verse, he breaks free from not just the microcosm, he breaks free from the universe itself. And the universe itself is unknown to us. If you stretch to the furthest reaches of the universe, science tells us it's mind-boggling. The distance between two stars, forget stars, the last planet in the solar system itself, it takes, an astronomical figure to go around the sun. And then you think of the solar system as part of the Milky Way galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy itself is huge. And the Milky Way galaxy is only one of the galaxies in this mighty universe. But all this whole universe is nothing but a slight, minute disturbance in the mass of Brahman. This is what he's trying to communicate to us. This concept of all pervading, concept of infinity. The problem with us is whatever we contact, even in terms of knowledge, the whole thing is related to me. How does it affect me? So as far as we are concerned, the whole universe is nothing but just me. This myopic vision he's trying to break free of, and he takes us very systematically from verse 13 onwards. 13 he says, Dehi. You're still body-centric, but you've broken free from the body. 14, he transcends the body, but the point of reference is still the individual. And here he completely breaks free from it by using the word Vibhu, the macrocosm. So, the Lord does not receive anyone's sin or even good deed. What is he saying here? He says, there is no such thing as punya or papa. Punya or papa, good deed or negative thing, has no meaning to a person who has understood that the entire waking state itself is an illusion. For instance, when you wake up from a dream, there are times when you remember that at least parts of the dream vividly. Now, having woken up, will you analyze, oh, this brother-in-law of mine in the dream was terribly vicious to me? Will you go into all that? Once you wake up, once you break free of the dream and emerge into the waking state, the entire dream state, good, bad, indifferent, you understand as an illusion, and therefore you have no time to waste over it. You don't even consider it. Even when you remember it, you only mention it as an amusing thing. Can you imagine I dreamt such a weird dream? That's it. You don't go into any analysis. In the same way, a person who has moved up from the waking state into the fourth plane of consciousness has no interest in the waking state because he understands it's an illusion. And therefore he has nothing to do with either punya or papa. This is an extremely universal way of looking at things. We tend to believe that being spiritual is being good. It's not that. What is the difference between punya and papa? When you perform actions and these actions are driven by good desires, what happens? You accumulate good vasanas, as we saw yesterday. This is called punya. Papa is where your actions are driven by selfish desires, and these selfish desires result in the accumulation of negative vasanas. Therefore, it's called papa. As long as you are functioning with desires, you are still bound to the world, you are still caught up with the world, you are still entangled with this world, and it is of no use. The spiritual path is one that is free of punya and papa. So therefore, the scriptures tell us to tread a path that is neither punya nor papa. In other words, you are not performing an action because you are driven by a selfish desire which leads to papa, nor are you performing an action driven by an unselfish desire which is punya. Then why are you performing the action? Because you feel you ought to do it. Niyatam kuru karmatvam karmajayo iha karmana. In the 3rd chapter and throughout the Gita, he keeps exhorting us to perform what he calls as niyatam karma, obligatory duty, and not actions prompted by desire. So, therefore, once you reach the state of ajnani, you have nothing to do with punya or papa. But this doesn't mean you don't go back home today and say, oh, why did I unnecessarily waste my time over punya? Doing good actions, let me do bad actions. No. To overcome selfishness, the first step is to perform punya, perform actions that are driven by unselfish desires. And only when you pass through that, you can get to selfless desires where you perform an action neither because you want to benefit yourself, nor is it because you want to benefit anybody else. You perform the action because you must perform it. As we said, the first verse of chapter 6 says that anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha saha sannyasi. That person is a sannyasi. That person is a man of renunciation. One who does what he ought to do without depending upon the fruit of action. It's the same concept that he's speaking of here. So here is a person who has reached the state of Brahman and therefore has nothing to do with punya or papa. Why is it that we get involved in punya or papa? Because this knowledge is not available to us. And therefore he says, knowledge is covered by ignorance. This deludes beings. So he's now concerned more with the fact that it is ignorance that is the cause of all our problems. If we had known it, we would not be doing such things. Take a look at all the actions that we perform. The actions we perform are all desire-driven, either selfish or unselfish. Who is there among us who does things because we believe we ought to do it? And yet, this is the substratum, this is the foundation of the Indian culture. This is what has sustained us through centuries. Every child was brought up and this was dinned into his mind that all you have to do is perform obligatory duties. You have no business in demanding rights. You have no business demanding anything from the world or from your environment. And that is how for centuries together this culture, the civilization continued. Today we are letting go of it because nobody is looking at what is my obligation. Everyone's looking at what is my right, how do I claim rights. And that's what is resulting in a lot of stress, a lot of strife, a lot of violence. If only we, each individual, even the few of us who are here, if we perform our obligatory duties, we'll be beacon lights for the entire nation, for all of humanity to follow. One person has to do it, just one person. Problem is that one person is not doing obligatory duty. So don't sit around waiting for somebody else to do it. It's for each one of us to decide, okay, I'm going to steer clear of punya and papa and perform my obligations. And then what will happen? You'll reach to the state of vibhu. Vibhu is when the individual merges with the totality. Here he's suggesting the total state where what they call as mahasamadhi, where you cross over and join the totality. There is no sense of the individual left. It's like the river entering the ocean. Verse 16. Nena tu tadajnanam yesham nashitamatmanaha tesham adityavajnanam prakashayati tatparam. Like the sun, knowledge reveals the Supreme in them whose ignorance is destroyed by knowledge of self. So, with this verse, we begin the fourth topic of this chapter, which speaks of the pathway to enlightenment, verses 16 to 21, the fourth topic here. So what is he saying here? Knowledge alone destroys the ignorance. You see, the thing is, we all have, right from birth till now, been experiencing a sense of incompleteness, a sense of unfulfillment, right? You agree there? And as a result of this emptiness, the void that we feel within, thoughts come in our minds, and these thoughts go out into the world in the belief that if I acquire things from the world, my sense of incompleteness, my emptiness will go. This is how we're operating every single day of our lives. And from birth till now, we have succeeded in acquiring a lot of things. Do you not agree there? Has your emptiness reduced? No, don't say it so hesitantly. No. Has it gone? No. Why? How can it be when there is an emptiness and you feel it, at least the emptiness should reduce? Right now your stomach may be empty. When the stomach is empty, you feel hungry, your thoughts go towards an object called food. When you eat food, the first few morsels of food that you eat, what happens? The emptiness reduces. And then when you've had a full meal, the emptiness is gone. But in our experience, right from birth onwards, we have been acquiring so many things that emptiness just doesn't go. Why? The question never occurs to us. Why does it not go? Because the Gita tells us, the scriptures tell us, that you are really not empty. This emptiness is imaginary, and that imaginary emptiness can never go with acquisition of things. Imaginary emptiness will go only when you gain knowledge of your fullness. Because the fact is, they tell us that even while you are experiencing this emptiness, you are completely, totally full. Paripurna is the word they use. Paripurna means, Purna means full. Paripurna, completely, totally fulfilled. What a tragedy. What a tragedy that you who are completely full, Paripurna, are constantly going out into the world, begging at the doors of the sense objects, at emotions and thoughts for fulfillment when you are already completely fulfilled. It's like the king of a state going out and begging because he doesn't know that he's king. So our problem is not that we don't have it all. The problem is you have it all but you don't know it. And therefore he says categorically, jnanena. It is only knowledge that will destroy the ignorance of your fullness and restore you to your pristine glory. And therefore it is in Atma Bodha, Shankaracharya repeats it again and again. Bodhonya sadhane bhyohi sakshat mokshaika sadhanam. The only way of reaching moksha is through knowledge. There is no other method. That's the only thing we don't want. We choose to be in ignorance. That's the height of delusion. And the important thing is, you don't have to wait for the complete knowledge to come. Just a little is enough. And he puts it so beautifully in the Atma Bodha. He says, Aruneneva bodhena purvam santamase rute. Which means, as the sun rises by itself, after the dense darkness has already been destroyed by Aruna. Aruna means a charioteer of the sun, means dawn. Those of you who have had the good fortune of waking up when it's pitch dark, early in the morning, will notice that at a particular point in time, the darkness has gone. It's dawn. There's light enough for you to even read a book, perhaps.